MCQ 1. What is the primary reason molecular movements are essential for life? Option A, to facilitate breathing. Option B, to repair and maintain structures. Option C, to grow only. Option D, to perform visible movements. The correct answer is option B, to repair and maintain structures. Explanation. Molecular movements are essential for maintaining the organized structure of living organisms. Without these movements, cells and tissues would break down over time due to environmental effects, leading to the end of life. MC2. Which of these processes is primarily responsible for acquiring oxygen for food breakdown? Option A, nutrition. Option B, respiration. Option C, diffusion. Option D, photosynthesis. The correct answer is option B, respiration. Explanation. Respiration is the process of acquiring oxygen to oxidize food and release energy. This energy is required for the maintenance of cellular functions, making respiration a vital life process. Q3. Why is diffusion insufficient for multicellular organisms like humans? Option A. It is too slow for large distances. Option B. It works only for unicellular organisms. Option C. It doesn't transport nutrients. Option D. It works only in plants. The correct answer is option A. It is too slow for large distances. Explanation. Diffusion works well for small distances, but in multicellular organisms with large and complex body structures, specialized transport systems are required for efficient distribution of gases and nutrients. MCQ 4. What is the main criterion used to decide if something is alive? Option A, growth only. Option B, visible movement. Option C, molecular movement. Option D, breathing only. The correct answer is option C, molecular movement. Explanation. Molecular movement is essential for life as it helps maintain the structure and function of cells, even when no visible activity is observed. It distinguishes living organisms from non-living things. Info 5. What is the primary source of energy for living organisms? Option A. Option B, carbon-based molecules. Option C, vitamins. Option D, minerals. The correct answer is option B, carbon-based molecules. Explanation. Carbon-based molecules, such as carbohydrates, serve as the primary source of energy for organisms. They are broken down during respiration to release energy required for cellular activities. MCQ 6. What is the role of nutrition in life processes? Option A, producing oxygen, absorbing carbon dioxide. Option C, providing energy and raw materials. Option D, breaking down enzymes. The correct answer is option C, providing energy and raw materials. Explanation. Nutrition supplies the energy needed for life processes and provides raw materials for growth, repair, and maintenance of cells in living organisms. MCQ 7. Which group of organisms uses inorganic substances to prepare their food? Option A, autotrophs. Option B, heterotrophs. Option C, parasites. Option D, saprophytes. The correct answer is option A, autotrophs. Explanation. Autotrophs, such as green plants, use inorganic substances like carbon dioxide and water to synthesize food through photosynthesis, utilizing sunlight as an energy source. MCQ 8. What is the stored form of energy in autotrophs? Option A, glycogen. Option B, starch. Option C, glucose. Option D, protein. The correct answer is option B, starch. Explanation. Autotrophs store excess carbohydrates in the form of starch. This stored energy can be utilized by the plant when required, such as during periods of low sunlight. MCQ 9. How do guard cells help in photosynthesis? Option A, absorbing water. Option B, opening and closing stomata. Option C, releasing oxygen. Option D, absorbing carbon dioxide. The correct answer is option B, opening and closing stomata. Explanation. Guard cells regulate the opening and closing of stomatal pores, facilitating the intake of carbon dioxide for photosynthesis and reducing water loss through transpiration. MCQ 10. Why do desert plants take in carbon dioxide at night? Option A, to prevent water loss. Option B, to store oxygen. Option C, to release energy. Option D, to synthesize glucose. The correct answer is option A, to prevent water loss. Explanation. Desert plants take in carbon dioxide at night as part of CAM photosynthesis. This adaptation minimizes water loss by keeping stomata closed during the hot day. 11. What is the primary function of stomata in plants? Option A, absorb nutrients. Option B, exchange gases. Option C, absorb sunlight. Option D, transport water. The correct answer is option B, exchange gases. Explanation. Stomata are tiny pores on the surface of leaves that facilitate gas exchange. They allow carbon dioxide to enter for photosynthesis and oxygen to exit as a byproduct. MCQ 12. Which enzyme in saliva helps in the digestion of starch? Option A, pepsin, lipase. Option C, salivary amylase. Option D, trypsin. The correct answer is option C, salivary amylase. Explanation. Salivary amylase is the enzyme in saliva that breaks down starch, a complex carbohydrate, into simpler sugars like maltose. This is the first step in digestion. MCQ 13. How does bile juice assist in digestion? Option A, digests proteins. Option B, breaks down fats. Option C, neutralizes stomach acid. Option D, converts carbohydrates into sugars. The correct answer is option B, breaks down fats. Explanation. Bile juice emulsifies fats, breaking them into smaller globules. This increases the surface area for enzymes like lipase to act on, aiding the digestion of fats. MCQ 14. What protects the stomach lining from the acidic environment? Option A, gastric glands. Option B, hydrochloric acid. Option C, mucus. Option D, digestive enzymes. The correct answer is option C. Explanation. The stomach lining secretes mucus, which forms a protective layer to prevent damage from hydrochloric acid and digestive enzymes present in the stomach. 15. Why do herbivores have a longer small intestine than carnivores? Option A, to digest cellulose. Option B, to store undigested food. Option C, to absorb more water. Option D, to excrete waste faster. The correct answer is option A, to digest cellulose. Explanation. Herbivores have a longer small intestine to digest cellulose, which is a major component of plant material. It requires more time and specialized enzymes for complete digestion. 16. What is the main purpose of villi in the small intestine? Option A, absorb water. Option B, absorb digested food. Option C, increase enzyme production. Option D, secrete bile juice. The correct answer is option B, absorb digested food. Explanation. Villi are finger-like projections in the small intestine that increase the surface area for nutrient absorption. They transport digested nutrients into the bloodstream for use by the body. MCQ 17. During aerobic respiration, where does the breakdown of pyruvate occur? Option A, cytoplasm. Option B, mitochondria. Option C, nucleus. Option D, chloroplast. The correct answer is option B, mitochondria. Explanation. Pyruvate is broken down in the mitochondria during aerobic respiration. This process generates energy in the form of ATP, along with carbon dioxide and water as byproducts. What causes muscle cramps during intense physical activity? Option A, lack of glucose. Option B, accumulation of lactic acid. Option C, insufficient oxygen. Option D, excess ATP. The correct answer is option B, accumulation of lactic acid. Explanation. Muscle cramps occur when lactic acid builds up in muscles due to anaerobic respiration. This happens when oxygen supply is insufficient during intense physical activity. MC19. What is the role of ATP in cellular processes? Option A, provides energy. Option, stores oxygen. Option C, synthesizes proteins. Option D, transports nutrients. The correct answer is option A, provides energy. Explanation: ATP is the energy currency of the cell. It stores and releases energy by breaking its phosphate bonds, fueling cellular activities like transport, synthesis, and movement. 20. How is oxygen transported in human blood? Option A, dissolved in plasma. Option B, by red blood cells. Option C, bound to hemoglobin. Option D, through white blood cells. The correct answer is option C, bound to hemoglobin. Explanation: oxygen is primarily transported in the blood by binding to hemoglobin, a protein in red blood cells. This allows efficient oxygen delivery to tissues and organs. MC21. What is the role of hemoglobin in the blood? Option A, carries carbon dioxide. Option B, binds oxygen. Option C, clots blood. Option D, transports nutrients. The correct answer is option B, binds oxygen. Explanation: hemoglobin, found in red blood cells, binds to oxygen in the lungs and carries it to tissues throughout the body, ensuring efficient oxygen transport for cellular respiration. M222. Why do terrestrial organisms have an advantage over aquatic organisms in obtaining oxygen? Option A, more oxygen in air. Option B, higher diffusion in water, efficient gill systems. Option D, smaller body size. The correct answer is option A, more oxygen in air. Explanation: air contains more oxygen compared to water, giving terrestrial organisms an advantage. This allows them to extract oxygen efficiently using specialized respiratory systems like lungs. MCQ 23. Which structure in the human lungs maximizes the exchange of gases? Option A, trachea. Option B, bronchi. Option C, alveoli. Option D. The correct answer is option C, alveoli. Explanation: alveoli are tiny balloon-like structures in the lungs with thin walls and a rich supply of blood vessels, providing a large surface area for efficient gas exchange. MCQ 24. What ensures that air passages in the throat do not collapse? Option A, mucus. Option B, cartilage rings. Option C, muscular walls. Option D, cilia. The correct answer is option B, cartilage rings. Explanation: the cartilage rings in the trachea provide structural support, preventing the air passage from collapsing during inhalation and exhalation. What is double circulation in humans? Option A, blood passes through lungs only. Option B, blood circulates twice per cycle. Option C, blood flows in one direction. Option D, blood is pumped once per cycle. The correct answer is option B, blood circulates twice per cycle. Explanation: in double circulation, blood flows twice through the heart in one cycle, once for oxygenation in the lungs and once to deliver oxygenated blood to the body. 26. How is blood flow in veins different from that in arteries? Option A, arteries have valves. Option B, veins carry blood under high pressure. Option C, veins have valves to prevent backflow. Option D, arteries transport deoxygenated blood. The correct answer is option C, veins have valves to prevent backflow. Explanation: veins contain valves to ensure that blood flows only toward the heart, preventing backflow due to the low pressure in veins. M27. What is the function of platelets in the blood? Option A, transport oxygen. Option B, form blood clots. Option C, remove waste products. Option D, transport hormones. The correct answer is option B, form blood clots. Explanation: platelets aggregate at injury sites to form clots, preventing blood loss and ensuring the circulatory system remains functional. How does xylem transport water in plants? Option A, through active transport. Option B, using transpiration pull. Option C, by root pressure. Option D, through phloem. The correct answer is using transpiration pull. Explanation: xylem transports water upward using transpiration pull, created by the evaporation of water from the leaves. Cohesion and adhesion also help in this process. MCQ 29. What is the role of phloem in plants? Option A, transport water. Option B, transport food. Option C, transport minerals. Option D, transport oxygen. The correct answer is option B, transport food. Explanation: phloem transports food, such as sugars made during photosynthesis, from the leaves to other parts of the plant, ensuring energy and nutrients are available for growth. MCQ 30. What is transpiration in plants? Absorption of water? Option B, loss of water vapor. Option C, transport of nutrients. Option D, synthesis of food. The correct answer is option B, loss of water vapor. Explanation: transpiration is the process where plants lose water vapor through stomata. It helps in water and nutrient transport and also aids in regulating the plant's temperature. MCQ 31. What is the primary function of root pressure in plants? Option A, transport food. Option B, push water upward. Option C, absorb minerals. Option D, store nutrients. The correct answer is option B, push water upward. Explanation: helps push water upward through the xylem, especially during times of low transpiration, ensuring that the plant remains hydrated and nutrients are distributed. MCQ 32. How do guard cells regulate stomatal movement? Option A, by producing enzymes. Option B, by changing their shape. Option C, by absorbing oxygen. Option D, by releasing carbon dioxide. The correct answer is by changing their shape. Explanation: guard cells change their shape by absorbing or losing water, causing the stomatal pores to open or close. This regulates gas exchange and water conservation in plants. MCQ 33. What are the products of aerobic respiration? Option A, oxygen and glucose. Option B, carbon dioxide and water. Option C, lactic acid and energy. Option D, ethanol and carbon dioxide. The correct answer is option B, carbon dioxide and water. Explanation: in aerobic respiration, glucose is completely broken down into carbon dioxide and water in the presence of oxygen, releasing a significant amount of energy in the form of ATP. MCQ 34. Why is it necessary to separate oxygenated and deoxygenated blood in mammals and birds? Option A, to prevent energy loss. Option B, to maintain constant body temperature. Option C, to store carbon dioxide. Option D, to regulate blood pressure. The correct answer is option B, to maintain constant body temperature. Explanation: separating oxygenated and deoxygenated blood ensures efficient oxygen delivery to cells, which is crucial for maintaining the high energy demands of a constant body temperature. MCQ 35. What is the main function of nephrons in the kidneys? Option A, filter urea from blood. Option B, produce red blood cells. Option C, absorb nutrients. Option D, regulate oxygen levels. The correct answer is option A, filter urea from blood. Explanation: nephrons are the functional units of kidneys that filter nitrogenous wastes like urea from the blood, maintain water balance, and produce urine for excretion. MCQ 36. What is the significance of villi in the small intestine? Option A, increase surface area for absorption. Option B, produce digestive enzymes. Option C, filter waste materials. Option D, absorb water only. The correct answer is option A, increase surface area for absorption. Explanation: villi are finger-like projections that increase the surface area of the small intestine, allowing for efficient absorption of nutrients into the bloodstream. MC37. Why do plants close stomata during hot days? Option A, to conserve carbon dioxide. Option B, to conserve water. Option C, to enhance oxygen release. Option D, to increase transpiration. The correct answer is option B, to conserve water. Explanation. Plants close their stomata during hot days to reduce water loss through transpiration. This adaptation helps them conserve water in dry or hot conditions. M38. What is the role of lymph in the human body? Option A, transport oxygen. Option B, transport nutrients. Option C, drain excess fluid. Option D, remove nitrogenous waste. The correct answer is option C, drain excess fluid. Explanation. Lymph drains excess fluid from intercellular spaces back into the bloodstream, maintains fluid balance, and transports absorbed fats from the intestine. 39. How does ATP release energy in cells? Option A, by forming phosphate bonds. Option B, by breaking phosphate bonds. Option C, by combining with glucose. Option D, by reacting with oxygen. The correct answer is option B, by breaking phosphate bonds. Explanation. ATP releases energy by breaking its high-energy phosphate bonds. This energy powers various cellular processes, including transport, synthesis, and movement. MCQ 40. What happens to glucose in anaerobic respiration in muscles? Option A, it is fully oxidized. Option B, it forms lactic acid. Option C, it forms ethanol and carbon dioxide. Option D, it is converted into ATP and oxygen. The correct answer is option B, it forms lactic acid. Explanation. In the absence of sufficient oxygen, glucose is partially broken down into lactic acid in muscle cells, producing small amounts of energy and causing muscle cramps. MCQ 41. How does transpiration help plants? Option A, increases water loss. Option B, pulls water upward. Option C, stores nutrients. Option D, reduces oxygen levels. The correct answer is pulls water upward. Explanation. Transpiration creates a suction force that pulls water upward from the roots through the xylem to the leaves. This process helps transport nutrients and maintain the plant's temperature. MC 42. What prevents backflow of blood in veins? Option A, thick walls. Option B, high pressure. Option C, valves. Option D, peristaltic movement. The correct answer is option C, valves. Veins have valves that prevent the backflow of blood. These valves ensure that blood flows in one direction toward the heart, despite the low pressure in veins. Seek 43. Why do fishes have a faster rate of breathing than terrestrial animals? Option A, they are smaller. Option B, water has less oxygen than air. Option C, they have gills. Option D, they have smaller lungs. The correct answer is option B, water has less oxygen than air. Explanation. Water contains less dissolved oxygen compared to air, so fishes breathe faster to extract the required oxygen efficiently through their gills. Seek 44. What is the significance of capillaries in the circulatory system? Option A, store oxygen. Option B, exchange materials between blood and tissues. Option C, carry blood to the heart. Option D, absorb nutrients. The correct answer is option B, exchange materials between blood and tissues. Explanation. Capillaries have thin walls that facilitate the exchange of oxygen, carbon dioxide, nutrients, and waste products between the blood and surrounding tissues. MC 45. What is the role of bile salts in digestion? Option A, digest proteins. Option B, emulsify fats. Option C, neutralize enzymes. Option D, produce glucose. Option B, emulsify fats. Explanation. Bile salts break down large fat globules into smaller ones, increasing the surface area for enzymes like lipase to act on, making fat digestion more efficient. ExHubMCQs. Why is a residual volume of air left in the lungs after exhalation? Option A, to absorb carbon dioxide. Option B, to prevent lung collapse. Option C, to store energy. Option D, to aid muscle movement. The correct answer is option B, to prevent lung collapse. Explanation: the residual volume of air prevents lung collapse by maintaining a minimum volume of air in the lungs, ensuring continuous gas exchange during breathing cycles. MCQ-47. How is carbon dioxide transported in the blood? Option A, bound to hemoglobin. Option B, dissolved in plasma. Option C, through white blood cells. Option D, stored in platelets. The correct answer is option B, dissolved in plasma. Explanation: carbon dioxide is mainly transported in the blood by dissolving in plasma. A portion is also carried as bicarbonates and bound to hemoglobin. What is the function of the diaphragm during breathing? Option A, absorbs oxygen. Option B, contracts to enlarge chest cavity. Option C, filters air. Option D, protects the lungs. The correct answer is option B, contracts to enlarge chest cavity. Explanation: the diaphragm contracts and flattens during inhalation, enlarging the chest cavity and creating a vacuum that allows air to flow into the lungs. What is the main byproduct of photosynthesis? Option A, carbon dioxide. Option B, oxygen. Option C, glucose. Option D, water. The correct answer is option B, oxygen. Explanation: oxygen is released as a byproduct during photosynthesis when water molecules are split into hydrogen and oxygen in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. MCQ 50. Why is photosynthesis essential for autotrophic organisms? Option A, provides oxygen. Option B, converts light into chemical energy. Option C, absorbs water. Option D, stores nitrogen. The correct answer is option B, converts light into chemical energy. Explanation: photosynthesis converts sunlight into chemical energy stored as carbohydrates, providing autotrophs with the energy and raw materials required for growth and maintenance. M51. What is the purpose of kidney filtration in humans? Option A, absorb nutrients. Option B, remove nitrogenous wastes. Option C, transport oxygen. Option D, store vitamins. The correct answer is option B, remove nitrogenous wastes. Explanation: the kidneys filter nitrogenous wastes, such as urea and uric acid, from the blood. This process helps maintain chemical balance and produces urine to excrete harmful substances. MCQ 52. What is the role of stomata in water regulation? Option A, absorb water. Option B, transport water. Option C, control water loss through transpiration. Option D, store minerals. The correct answer is option C, control water loss through transpiration. Explanation: stomata regulate water loss by opening and closing, balancing gas exchange, and preventing excessive water loss, especially during hot or dry conditions. MC3. How is glucose stored in plants for future use? Option A, as glycogen. Option B, as cellulose. Option C, as starch. Option D, as protein. The correct answer is option C, as starch. Explanation: plants store glucose as starch, an efficient and compact energy reserve. Starch is used during periods when photosynthesis is not possible, such as at night. 54. What makes respiration in humans more efficient than in other animals? Option A, presence of alveoli. Option B, double circulation system. Option C, closed circulatory system. Option D, high oxygen solubility. The correct answer is option A, presence of alveoli. Explanation: alveoli in human lungs provide a large surface area and a rich blood supply, making gas exchange highly efficient and enabling humans to meet high oxygen demands. 55. Why do humans need a double circulatory system? Option A, To maintain constant blood pressure. Option B, to separate oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Option C, to reduce heart rate. Option D, to store more oxygen. The correct answer is option B, to separate oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Explanation. A double circulatory system ensures that oxygenated and deoxygenated blood are separated, enabling efficient oxygen delivery to tissues and high metabolic activity. MCQ 56. What process in the human digestive system emulsifies fats? Option A, action of saliva. Option B, hydrochloric acid action. Option C, action of bile salts. Option D, action of villi. The correct answer is action of bile salts. Explanation. Bile salts emulsify fats in the small intestine by breaking them into smaller droplets, increasing the surface area for enzymes like lipase to digest them. MCQ 57. How do plants obtain nitrogen for protein synthesis? Option A, from carbon dioxide. Option B, from oxygen. Option C, from soil in the form of nitrates. Option D, from stomata. The correct answer is options from soil in the form of nitrates. Explanation. Plants absorb nitrogen in the form of nitrates or nitrites from the soil. These compounds are used to synthesize proteins, nucleic acids, and other essential molecules. MCQ 58. Why do aquatic animals breathe faster than terrestrial animals? Option A, they have gills. Option B, they need more oxygen. Option C, water has less dissolved oxygen. Option D, they are smaller in size. The correct answer is option C, water has less dissolved oxygen. Explanation. Aquatic animals breathe faster because water contains less dissolved oxygen compared to air. They extract oxygen through specialized structures like gills. MCQ 59. What causes cramps in human muscles after strenuous activity? Option A, accumulation of lactic acid. Option B, excess oxygen. Option C, low ATP production. Option D, loss of glucose. The correct answer is accumulation of lactic acid. Explanation. During intense physical activity, muscles undergo anaerobic respiration, producing lactic acid. Its accumulation leads to cramps due to oxygen deficiency in the cells. CQ 60. How is water transported to the highest points in tall trees? Option A, root pressure. Option B, transpiration pull. Option C, diffusion. Option D, osmosis. The correct answer is transpiration pull. Explanation. Transpiration pull is a suction force created by water evaporation from leaves. It helps transport water from roots to the tallest parts of the tree through the xylem. MC 61. Which process allows plants to lose excess water through leaves? Option A, transpiration. Option B, photosynthesis. Option C, respiration. Option D, diffusion. The correct answer is option A, transpiration. Explanation. Transpiration is the process by which plants lose water in the form of vapor through stomata. It helps regulate temperature, facilitates water and nutrient transport, and prevents waterlogging. M62. What is the primary waste product generated during photosynthesis? Option A, oxygen. Option B, carbon dioxide. Option C, glucose. Water. The correct answer is option A, oxygen. Explanation. During photosynthesis, plants convert carbon dioxide and water into glucose and oxygen using sunlight. Oxygen, a byproduct, is released into the atmosphere. MC63. What type of fluid helps in the transport of fats in humans? Option A, plasma. Option B, lymph. Option C, serum. Option D, hemoglobin. The correct answer is option B, lymph. Explanation. Lymph is a clear fluid that helps transport fats absorbed from the intestine to the bloodstream. It also drains excess fluid from tissues and helps in immune defense. What is the primary function of phloem in plants? Option A, transport water. Option B, transport food. Option C, store nutrients. Option D, support the plant. The correct answer is option B, transport food. Explanation: phloem is responsible for transporting food, mainly sucrose, from the leaves, where photosynthesis occurs, to other parts of the plant for storage and growth. MC 65. Which enzyme is responsible for digesting proteins in the stomach? Option A, pepsin. Option B, lipase. Option C, amylase. Option D, maltase. The correct answer is option A, pepsin. Explanation: pepsin is an enzyme secreted by the gastric glands in the stomach. It breaks down proteins into smaller polypeptides in the acidic environment of the stomach. MC 66. What is the process by which food is moved along the digestive tract? Option A, diffusion. Option B, peristalsis. Option C, active transport. Option D, osmosis. The correct answer is option B, peristalsis. Explanation: peristalsis involves rhythmic contractions of the smooth muscles in the walls of the digestive tract. This action moves food along the alimentary canal. M667. Why do desert plants close their stomata during the day? Option A, to store water. Option B, to prevent water loss. Option C, to reduce photosynthesis. Option D, to absorb more oxygen. The correct answer is option B, to prevent water loss. Explanation: desert plants close their stomata during the day to minimize water loss through transpiration. This adaptation allows them to conserve water in arid environments. 68. What prevents the trachea from collapsing during breathing? Option A, cartilage rings. Mucus. Option C, blood vessels. Option D, diaphragm. The correct answer is option A, cartilage rings. Explanation: the trachea is supported by C-shaped cartilage rings that prevent it from collapsing during breathing. These rings maintain the airway's open structure. MCU 69. How are waste materials removed from the body in unicellular organisms? Option A, by diffusion. Option B, by osmosis. Option C, by active transport. Option D, by excretion glands. The correct answer is option A, by diffusion. Explanation: in unicellular organisms, waste materials are removed by simple diffusion across the cell membrane into the surrounding environment. This process is efficient due to their small size. 70. Why do plants need nitrogen? Option A, for protein synthesis. Option B, for carbohydrate storage. Option C, for oxygen production. Option D, for water absorption. The correct answer is option A, for protein synthesis. Explanation: nitrogen is an essential nutrient for plants. It is used to synthesize amino acids, which are the building blocks of proteins, and other important biomolecules like nucleic acids. MCQ 71. What is the primary site of nutrient absorption in humans? Option A, stomach. Option B, large intestine. Option C, small intestine. Option D, esophagus. The correct answer is option C, small intestine. Explanation: the small intestine is the main site of nutrient absorption in the digestive system. Its villi and microvilli provide a large surface area for absorbing nutrients into the bloodstream. MCQ 2. What is the role of the liver in digestion? Option A, absorbs glucose. Option B, produces bile. Option C, stores vitamins. Option D, secretes enzymes. The correct answer is option B, produces bile. Explanation: the liver produces bile, which emulsifies fats, breaking them into smaller globules. This action increases the surface area for enzymes like lipase to digest fats efficiently. MCQ 73. How do single-celled organisms like amoeba take in food? Option A, through cilia. Option B, using pseudopodia. Option C, by diffusion. Option D, by osmosis. The correct answer is option B, using pseudopodia. Amoeba takes in food using pseudopodia, which are temporary projections of its cytoplasm. The food is engulfed, forming a food vacuole where digestion occurs. MCQ 74. What is the function of the excretory system in humans? Option A, transport nutrients. Option B, remove nitrogenous waste. Option C, circulate oxygen. Option D, absorb water. The correct answer is option B, remove nitrogenous waste. Explanation. The excretory system removes nitrogenous wastes, such as urea and uric acid, from the blood. This helps maintain the body's internal chemical balance and prevents toxic buildup. MCQ 75. What is ATP often referred to as in cells? Option A, genetic material. Option B, energy currency. Option C, transport protein. Option D, structural molecule. The correct answer is option B, energy currency. Explanation. ATP, or adenosine triphosphate, is referred to as the energy currency of the cell because it stores and supplies energy needed for various cellular activities by breaking high-energy phosphate bonds. MC6. How does the body prevent the stomach from being damaged by its own acid? Option A, producing bile. Option B, secreting mucus. Option C, digesting enzymes. Option D, regulating acidity. The correct answer is option B, secreting mucus. Explanation. The stomach lining secretes mucus, which forms a protective barrier to prevent damage from hydrochloric acid and digestive enzymes in the stomach. MCQ 77. What causes the opening and closing of the stomata in plants? Option A, guard cells. Option B, water availability. Option C, carbon dioxide levels. Option D, sunlight intensity. The correct answer is option A, guard cells. Guard cells regulate the opening and closing of stomata by changing shape based on their water content. This controls gas exchange and water conservation in plants. MCQ 78. What happens to pyruvate during anaerobic respiration in yeast? Option A, it is converted into lactic acid. Option B, it is converted into ethanol and carbon dioxide. Option C, it is completely oxidized. Option D, it produces oxygen. The correct answer, option B. It is converted into ethanol and carbon dioxide. Explanation. In anaerobic respiration, yeast breaks down pyruvate into ethanol and carbon dioxide, producing a small amount of energy in the absence of oxygen. M79. How is the small intestine adapted for absorption of food? Option A, thick muscular walls. Option B, large surface area. Option C, low blood supply. Option D, short length. The correct answer is large surface area. Explanation. The small intestine has a large surface area due to the presence of villi and microvilli. These structures, rich in blood vessels, maximize nutrient absorption. M80. What is the primary function of red blood cells in the circulatory system? Option A, fight infections. Option B, transport oxygen. Option C, produce antibodies. Option D, clot the blood. The correct answer is option B, transport oxygen. Red blood cells contain hemoglobin, which binds to oxygen in the lungs and transports it to body tissues. They also carry carbon dioxide back to the lungs for exhalation. M81. Which part of the nephron is responsible for filtration in the kidneys? Option A, loop of Henle. Option B, Bowman's capsule. Option C, collecting duct. Option D, ureter. The correct answer is option B, Bowman's capsule. Explanation. Bowman's capsule, along with the glomerulus, is responsible for filtering blood in the kidneys. It removes nitrogenous wastes and excess substances, forming the initial filtrate. MC82. What is the role of stomatal pores during photosynthesis? Option A, absorb nutrients. Option B, exchange gases. Option C, transport glucose. Option D, store water. The correct answer is option B, exchange gases. Explanation: stomatal pores allow carbon dioxide to enter the plant for photosynthesis and oxygen to exit as a byproduct. They also regulate water loss through transpiration. MQ83. How is the energy released during respiration stored for cellular activities? Option A, as oxygen molecules. Option B, as ATP molecules. Option C, as glucose molecules. Option D, as lactic acid. The correct answer is option B, as ATP molecules. Explanation: energy released during respiration is stored in ATP molecules. ATP acts as the energy currency of the cell, providing energy for various cellular processes by breaking phosphate bonds. MCQ 84. What is the primary waste product excreted by humans through the kidneys? Option A, carbon dioxide. Option B, glucose. Option C, urea. Option D, lactic acid. The correct answer is option C, urea. Explanation: urea is a nitrogenous waste product formed during protein metabolism. It is filtered out of the blood by the kidneys and excreted in urine to maintain the body's chemical balance. MCQ 85. What happens to water in the xylem during transpiration? Option A, it is pushed upward by root pressure. Option B, it is pulled upward by transpiration pull. Option C, it is diffused into phloem. Option D, it is stored in vacuoles. The correct answer is option B, it is pulled upward by transpiration pull. Explanation: transpiration pull creates a suction force that helps transport water from the roots to the leaves through the xylem. This process is aided by cohesion and adhesion forces. MCQ 86. What prevents the backflow of blood from the ventricles to the atria in the heart? Option A, valves. Option B, thick walls. Option C, high pressure. Option D, strong muscles. The correct answer is option A, valves. Explanation: valves in the heart prevent the backflow of blood, ensuring that blood flows in one direction from the atria to the ventricles and then to the arteries during the cardiac cycle. 87. How does aerobic respiration differ from anaerobic respiration? Option A, it produces less energy. Option B, it requires oxygen. Option C, it occurs in the cytoplasm. Option D, it produces lactic acid. The correct answer is option B, it requires oxygen. Explanation: aerobic respiration requires oxygen to completely break down glucose into carbon dioxide and water, releasing a large amount of energy in the form of ATP. MCQ 88. Which pigment in plants is responsible for absorbing light energy during photosynthesis? Option A, hemoglobin. Option B, chlorophyll. Option C, carotene. Option D, melanin. The correct answer is option B, chlorophyll. Explanation: chlorophyll is the green pigment in plants that absorbs light energy from the sun. This energy drives the process of photosynthesis to produce carbohydrates and oxygen. MCQ 89. What is the main function of lymphatic vessels in the human body? Option A, remove carbon dioxide. Option B, transport fats. Option C, circulate oxygen. Option D, store water. The correct answer is option B, transport fats. Lymphatic vessels transport absorbed fats from the intestine to the bloodstream. They also drain excess fluid from tissues and play a role in immune system defense. MCQ 90. What is the role of the diaphragm in respiration? Option A, expands lung capacity. Option B, pumps blood. Option C, filters oxygen. Option D, produces mucus. The correct answer is option A, expands lung capacity. Explanation: during inhalation, the diaphragm contracts and flattens, enlarging the chest cavity. This creates a vacuum that allows air to flow into the lungs, facilitating respiration. MCQ 91. What is the primary purpose of transpiration in plants? Option A, cool the plant. Option B, absorb oxygen. Option C, store nutrients. Option D, release carbon dioxide. The correct answer is option A, cool the plant. Explanation. Transpiration cools the plant by releasing water vapor through the stomata. This process regulates the plant's temperature and helps in the upward movement of water and nutrients. MCQ 92. Which part of the digestive system absorbs the maximum nutrients? Option A, stomach. Option B, large intestine. Option C, small intestine. Option D, esophagus. The correct answer is option C, small intestine. Explanation. The small intestine is the main site of nutrient absorption. Its villi and microvilli increase the surface area, facilitating the transfer of nutrients into the bloodstream. 93. How is oxygen transported in blood? Option A, bound to red blood cells. Option B, dissolved in plasma. Option C, bound to platelets. Option D, attached to white blood cells. The correct answer is option bound to red blood cells. Explanation. Oxygen is transported by binding to hemoglobin in red blood cells. This enables efficient delivery of oxygen to tissues and removal of carbon dioxide from the body. MCQ 94. What is the significance of guard cells in plants? Option A, absorb sunlight. Option B, regulate stomatal opening. Option C, store nutrients. Option D, secrete enzymes. The correct answer is option B, regulate stomatal opening. Explanation. Guard cells control the opening and closing of stomata. This regulation facilitates gas exchange for photosynthesis and minimizes water loss during transpiration. 95. Why do veins have valves? Option A, to increase blood pressure. Option B, to prevent backflow of blood. Option C, to pump blood. Option D, to reduce oxygen levels. The correct answer is to prevent backflow of blood. Explanation. Valves in veins ensure blood flows in one direction toward the heart, preventing backflow caused by the low pressure in veins compared to arteries. MCQ 96. What is the byproduct of anaerobic respiration in muscle cells? Option A, carbon dioxide. Option B, lactic acid. Option C. Option D, oxygen. The correct answer is option B, lactic acid. Explanation. During anaerobic respiration in muscle cells, glucose is partially broken down into lactic acid. This occurs when oxygen supply is insufficient during intense physical activity. MCQ 97. How does bile help in digestion? Option A, breaks down proteins. Option B, neutralizes stomach acid. Option C, emulsifies fats. Option D, absorbs water. The correct answer is option C, emulsifies fats. Explanation. Bile emulsifies fats by breaking them into smaller globules. This increases the surface area for enzymes like lipase to act on, aiding in the digestion of fats. 98. Why do plants store carbohydrates as starch? Option A, it is soluble. Option B, it is easily converted to fat. Option C, it is an efficient energy reserve. Option D, it reduces water loss. The correct answer is option C, it is an efficient energy reserve. Explanation. Plants store carbohydrates as starch because it is a compact and efficient energy reserve. Starch can be broken down into glucose when energy is required. MCQ 99. What helps transport glucose in plants to growing parts? Option A, xylem. Option B, phloem. Option C, guard cells. Option D, stomata. The correct answer is phloem. Explanation. Phloem transports glucose and other products of photosynthesis from the leaves to growing parts of the plant, ensuring energy and nutrients are available where needed. CQ 100. What is the function of platelets in human blood? Option A, transport oxygen. Option B, aid in clotting. Option C, absorb nutrients. Option D, fight infections. The correct answer is option B, aid in clotting. Explanation. Platelets aggregate at the site of injury to form clots. This prevents excessive blood loss and facilitates wound healing, maintaining the efficiency of the circulatory system. This completes. Congratulations! You've completed the Life Processes Chapter MCQs. Mastering topics like respiration, nutrition, transportation, and excretion is key to excelling in your exams and understanding the science of life. But don't stop here. Keep testing your knowledge, rewatch, revise, and challenge yourself with more MCQs. This is ExHubMCQs, your ultimate destination for concept-based learning and smart preparation. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Drop a comment below and let us know your score. Keep learning, keep growing, and we'll see you in the next one.